All right, what's going on, everybody? It's your girl Bird from Bird in the Tree podcast.
And what it do? It's your boy Tree from Bird in the Tree podcast. Hey, Bird, how was your Thanksgiving?
So Thanksgiving was good. On Thanksgiving Day, it was just me and the family. So me, my husband, and the kids.
Okay.
So we didn't have a traditional Thanksgiving dinner on that day. Instead, we grilled. We had steak. We had, we basically had just a normal cookout type style for Thanksgiving. But then my sister and her husband, her kids, and my grandmother, they came Friday night. So we had our traditional Thanksgiving dinner yesterday, and so it was nice. And let me tell you, whoever did the turkey, the candy yams, and the greens, woo, they might have known what they was doing.
Hey, that's what it is. Hey, that's good. Are you saving my plate?
Sure.
Okay, that
Sure.
means no.
I'll freeze dry and mail it over dry ice. But how was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. The parents, grandmother, my brother, little brother, they came down to visit me and my fiance at the house, and we cooked the turkey and made some good old green bean casserole. And
I did forget that. I totally forgot that.
Oh, my mom made a confetti cake, and the thing about that is that confetti cake, it didn't even really make it to Thanksgiving. Like, I snuck in the kitchen, late at night, and I went on and got me a few pieces of it. You know what I'm saying? And that thing was hitting, like, for real.
So you're going to have to start your New Year's resolution on Monday. That's what you're telling me.
Yeah, so pretty much tomorrow I'm going to have to make sure I go, like, extra hard in the gym because I'm not going to lie, over the weekend, I went in. Hey, but hold on now. Hey, your birthday was on Friday, right?
It was, and I did absolutely nothing, and it was great. Great. I did nothing. Like, I sat on the couch, watched movies all day. Yeah, I did nothing. I did have to season the turkey.
Okay.
And I did have to cut up the greens to get those going because greens take forever. So I did have to do that. But other than that, I did nothing, and it felt great.
Hey, well, that was good. Hey, everybody make sure they holler at Bird and happy belated birthday.
Yes, and thanks everybody, because I got I feel like everybody in the world said happy birthday, so that's cool.
All right, that's what it is. All right, that's what it is. So look, we're going to go ahead and get this thing started. So, hey, this is going to be a great episode for the simple fact that this is a hot topic, especially with, how can I say it, in the Black community, especially if you're raised in a church, especially in the Old Testament, I guess you can say. They say that you should not
be shacking up.
Shacking up, exactly. You shouldn't be shacking up before you get married. And hey, look, so what I'm going to do, I got one of my fellas, one of my brothers. I've known this guy, honestly, all my life. We grew up together. He lived down the road from me, actually, while we was growing up, a few houses down. And like I said, we've been knowing each other for years. And he's a reverend. He's a preacher. So what we're going to do, we're going to bring him on, and we're going to talk about this. Right. Let's get him in here.
All right.
What's been going on, big dog?
Well, it is, man. Keeping it thirsty. You feel me?
Oh, so,
that is what in the world? Oh, Lord.
So, bro, you drinking out of a pot?
Hey, look, man. Look, when you get on Bird in the Tree, I figure we're going to have the cooking. You know what I mean? So this is what we do.
Makes sense. Hey, look.
Oh, that was a huge freaking, I thought it was a mug. I was ready to see this big old giant mug. No, it's a pot.
Yo, look, check this out. So check it out. Yo, we done came from the small county of Yates. I can remember when they said we didn't have a pot to piss in. Now we drinking out them pots.
Hey, my man. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
My gosh.
Hey, look.
And this is how this is going to go. This is how this is. No judging. I'm just saying I saw a pot. I didn't know what was going on.
Yo, check it out. But I'm going to tell you, though, this is when you know you feeling good. Like, when you just randomly tell your wife, yo, give me that pot. We about to get it cooking. You feel me?
I've never done that, but okay. I'm gonna have to stop.
Yo, it's always got to be a first, Bird. Y'all been practicing that all week, Bird. Bird.
Hey, that's what it is, man. Hey, look. Man.
Run.
I done told everybody, hey, man, we grew up together, bro.
No doubt.
Obviously we're family. I consider you a brother. You know what I'm saying? But back in the day, we used to run rampant. And what I mean by that, we clubbed. Now I ain't talking about, hey, hold on. Before we go any further, I ain't talking about we was all in the streets acting the fool. Because I know folks can go back and say, oh, well, Reverend Wiggins, he was out there acting right crazy. No. Hold on. Calm down. Hey, look.
Salute.
We was in the clubs. We was having a good time. We were just partying. You know what I'm saying? So that's what we did. And it was fun.
Doubt.
Hey, but look, man, I'm going to go ahead and jump into this thing real quick. So look, we both grew up in the church, and one of the main things that people talked about was like, hey, whatever you do not shack up before you get married. Now, am I lying?
Y'all got one question before we start, bro.
What's up, man?
Yo, Tree, is you ready, bro?
Oh, no.
I'm ready.
I'm not.
Bird.
I'm ready. I can't even deal with the pot. I can't even deal with the pot. So now I'm not ready.
Let me get a little serious first. I got a little disclaimer. Facebook like disclaimer. So here's my disclaimer. I think my brother did a really good job trying to water it down. I'm a few years older than him. I was straight in the gutter, straight up, clubbing, partying. That's what we did. We got a master's in it. You know what I mean? When you done been to the club too much, that when everybody in the club. And I'm not talking about
all
people.
of them. Everybody.
I'm talking about the people that work there. It's different when you know people.
Yeah.
But the people that work there.
Yeah. Then I started working there, but it's okay.
Oh, you worked at the club?
I took the money at the front.
I can see you doing that, Bird.
Okay.
Now that you said that, hey, I can see her doing that. Hey, look, hey, Bird,
just saying.
Bird, can you slide the fellas in right quick? Hey, sneak us in real quick. What's up?
Listen, not tonight. You're paying today because I got to get paid. Okay. All right.
Every single week when we come through, you know what we do? Bird. That's it.
Yep.
We in there.
Hey, thanks, brother.
We in there.
Thanks, man.
Not even to be, I'm a very transparent guy, so I definitely agree that we grew up with morals and not ethics. Mm-hmm. We didn't really have a system of, I guess I was like a ethical relativism or something where we based our lifestyle off of, perception. No, we got taught morals, the do's and the don'ts, and definitely you want to be favorable, quote unquote, shacking. And I definitely understand, even some of the reasoning behind some of that. I definitely understand that. Definitely.
I mean, the thing is, man, I tell people all the time, my parents told me all the time, hey, look, hey, and I ain't no, staying with your fiance or whatever before you get married. And, growing up, hey, that was the first thing. Okay, I ain't gonna have sex before I get married. I ain't
that one.
Definitely. I'm gonna have sex before I get married, and I'm not gonna be staying with my fiance before I get married. And
most definitely,
I fail both. So the thing is with that, but at the end of the day, man, I look at it like this. Speaking of, we're calling this episode "Test Driving Your Marriage."
Surfboard.
Yeah, that's something totally different. Hey, but look, hey, the thing is, man. So I feel like I won't say that you have to, because I do not believe that's something that you have to do. I just feel like it's a case by case basis. For me, I needed to. I felt like it was something that had to be done, but the simple fact that she lived in states away, Midwest, and I was over here on the East Coast. I'm gonna go ahead and be honest with you. It was rough for the distance, and it was one of those things where it was kind of like, hey, if we gonna really be serious and get this thing going, one of us got to move.
Yeah.
And
no doubt.
you know, so I'm gonna be honest with you. I just got back from Japan. I just got back over here good, and it was kind of like, well, I don't really want to move again, you know. So she packed up her bags and was like, all right, you know, let's go. I'm coming over there. I'm gonna take a chance, and I'm gonna leave my family, and I'm gonna head over there where you are. And I tell people all the time because they was like, well, you know, how did it go? Hey, that jump was rough. That jump was tough. And but you know what? I look at it like this: if we had never done that and we had just did it the right way and got married and, you know, then lived together, I'm gonna be straight up with y'all. I don't know if it really would have worked, because at the very beginning, when we did live together, like, it was tough. We had to learn each other. We had to learn, you know, the pet peeves and what gets on your nerves. You know, can't leave this sitting here like I used to be able to leave it sitting there. You know, you want it clean right here. You know, it was just a whole bunch of stuff that we had to learn, but yet we was willing to take that time and actually learn each other. And I know, you know, they say, you know, you get married and that's the type of stuff that you learn. I get that. And again, if you go that route, I have no problem with it. But I just felt like with me, I needed to go the route that I went. And I also feel that because I went that route, it helps me and helps us in the long run. And also on top of that, I know people are like, you know, well, that's not the biblical way. Why you drink out of this here pot that you got.
I mean, that's cool.
So, I mean, what do you think? Now, you're a preacher now. So, you know, how do you feel about this? Is this something that is right? Is it something that is wrong? Is it something that you've done? How do you feel, man?
And shout out to I would say the bravery that you have, and I definitely don't plan on turning this into a Bible study.
Let's go. Let me get it out. Let me get my Bible. Just tell me chapter and verse, because I don't know the whole thing. Sometimes.
I want to go with. I like how that Bible talks about the word that I hid in your heart. So let's deal with that word. I think my thing is for him to be able to be that transparent. Yo, that's real cool. That's real cool. And this will open up that door that bird wanted me to open up. I'm gonna go early, because the perception of something that I said last time around, I did it for a reason. And when her and her family was on, they was talking about some similar issues. And I said, I think a great antidote would be to cheat. And I even put it up there, I think 2-3 times.
Yes, you did.
And the reason that I did is because I wanted open response, but I wanted to see where you were with what I said. Now, I'm gonna tell you why I say that. I wasn't necessarily talking about cheating on the spouse. I'm necessarily talking about like disconnecting yourself from yourself. I'm gonna tell you what I mean by that. Like, every good workout regimen tells you you need a good cheat day. Now, this ain't saying go cheat on your wife, Tree. So I say I said that.
Okay.
But this is what I'm saying. With everything that he talked about, the morality that was brought up and, you know, put in us from, I think, a very, very early age, was based on perception more than biblical doctrine. And the reason why I say that, because some principle in the biblical doctrine there is not even applicable in this day. Now, let me just tell you what all that means. The issue with shacking, as we call it, or let me get real 2020 cohabitation. But the real issue with it, it's a dirty topic, because it's one of those topics that get real political, because you never get a chance to really deal with the real issue. And the real issue is sex. We all know that.
Right.
That's the issue. So I think we got to be careful, because sometimes we try to compound certain things when the root of it is what we really have the issue with. And that ends up taking place in everything we do now. So when we say, how do I feel about cohabitation? From a biblical perspective, we know it's practice. I mean, I just take Old Testament examples. I think the Bible talked about a man by the name Jacob that went and worked and lived in a man's house 7 years just to marry his daughter. And then when he didn't marry the daughter he chose to marry, he lived there 7 more years to, you know, be able to marry the daughter that he actually loved. Now, we definitely don't use that to try to, present something that, you know, isn't biblically sound. But what I'm saying, nowhere in the scripture does it pronounce premarital sex as a good thing. It actually calls it a sin against, the holy temple. But as far as cohabitation, you got to really dig into the culture. And one thing that we know in the culture, even practiced to this day, as God has blessed me to do a lot of touring, a lot of studying, that principle of them living together to work for, quote unquote, the wife he might marry, that's still practiced in certain parts. Now I'm gonna say what all that means. How long you and your lady been living together?
Been living together going on between 4 and 5 years now.
Now watch this. What one of the biblical perspectives of that with the culture was, it would be her family that would actually provide and be building and working on the home for his daughter and her husband to be. The husband would stay there, work, get a chance to win some favor, but it really was more legalistic than a mutual agreement. The parents went to the table with these things. Now, somebody would say, well, why is that important? Look at what we do now and have done for times past. At every wedding, we give what? The woman away. Notice that. That's one of the biggest events. We give the bride away. But if you go and study the book of Genesis, it says, so shall a man leave his mother and father. It was the man that would leave to go to actually live and cohabit. Now, even though premarital sex would not have took place during that time or would have breached the agreement, the whole point is they would have lived together. Now, watch this. We will practice that. Well, I got with my girl. We gonna go through this 2-year period of betrothal. We engaged. Bro, this guy had to live there for 7 years, no sex.
Ain't no way.
But listen, I want you to see this though. But the cohabitation, amen. But the cohabitation, I say that's the part that I'm saying. I don't want people to try to wrinkle cohabitation up with sexual morality. There are two different things. Now, I definitely don't think that you're going to sit at home all night long and go over Bible verses with this beautiful woman until you marry.
Right.
I don't know how you do it, bro, because I was a big Kelly fan, still am, and I still didn't see nothing wrong with a little bumpy grind. So
makes sense.
You know what I'm saying?
Makes sense.
Here's the biggest thing that I would tell. Stop fronting, Bird. You ain't look. Bird ain't never. Bird,
listening.
You and your husband have never made love to Amazing Grace. So get out of here. now look, even though
you got a point there.
She know it.
Right.
She's never made man. We like to set the mood. But I will say again, very stupid. So look, check this out, right? So then, as far as my opinion on it, what I do is I refuse to become ethical in the situation. Meaning I try to operate under a morality. But I'll give you a prime example. When we say some things are applicable in all situations, even if law may not be applicable, the principle is. Now, look, all that sounds real good, right? But let me tell you how this thing worked out at 8751 Orchard Avenue, Hampton, Virginia. 23666 if you want to mail and send me a shout out. Look,
hey, mine was 23168, but okay, we'll go with that.
Yo, shout it out. So look,
ain't shouting
I
out
have been with the same woman since what year, honey? Yeah, I don't want to get this wrong. You remember the year? Yo, 2000. You heard that, Bird? Bird.
Yeah, I've been with my husband since 2002, so we good.
Bird. Hey, look, but let me tell you what all that means. In the state of Virginia, and we're not trying to, hey, talk to me. Okay, now somebody will say, why is all of this applicable, and why am I bringing it up? Well, do you know that there are some instances, because when we think about this thing, we are, first of all, putting it on a level that deals with age, and we always think of it as a youth. But now I want you guys real quick to think about cohabitation with two seniors. And do you realize in the state of Virginia with two seniors, one of the reasons why they don't legally get married is because if they do, they lose their benefits.
Yep.
Now, here's the only thing I say to people that you got to be careful with. So we're not dealing with an ethical issue of whether or not cohabitation is right or wrong, because you will find nowhere in scripture where it denounces cohabitation. The issue is premarital sex. Okay, man, common sense. But guess what? Me and Heather didn't live together. Hey, I hope her mama ain't looking. But guess what? What? Yo, bro. So my whole point is the issue of cohabitation, even when you do some of these unique studies and Gallup polls, they show, I mean, you're over a 50 percentile rate of people having a marriage over 5 years when they actually do cohabit together. Now, so I mean, you got to be careful though. So for any of my church people that would get upset or get so super religious, again, I haven't said anything unbiblical. Nowhere in the Bible does it, say, well, she shall be stoned to death if they cohabit. It was practiced. Look, let me tell you one of the things that was so crazy real quick to give you a good idea of it. When you go to Egypt, you'll see that because of the territory, they build all their houses out of stone. And what you will find is when you have the first level of the home, then you'll see a level where it looks like they're building on top of the roof. All of their construction is built north. It goes up. But whether you know it or not, what that father is doing, he's actually starting on the home for his daughter and her quote unquote husband that ain't even there yet. Do you know why? Because of the legal litigations, he's not gonna just come take his daughter and that. No, bro, you gonna come and live here. You're gonna prove yourself. And not only are you gonna prove yourself, you're gonna show that you can take care of his daughter. And in so much that families didn't have some of the constricting issues that we have now, guess what? You couldn't say you hate your in-laws because you literally live right over top of them.
Right.
I mean, and that I think that plays a good role. So when we talk about cohabitation, when we talk about quote unquote, they will say shacking, living together. I try to tell people all the time, there's an underlying factor there that has nothing to do with the other. Now I know people won't agree with this, but again, I'll tell you, when we moved, look at my life, bro. We moved here 2011. I'll never forget. I proposed to this woman that I love, that I've been faithful to, and she had to leave Raleigh. When she left Raleigh at the time, guess what? Heather had nowhere to go.
Right.
She could have stayed home, but she had to get her job. Right. And guess what? God blessed us that the house that we live in was being built. We moved down here in October. Okay, now what does all this have to do with anything? Bro, we got married in November.
Yep.
Now watch this. At that time, I was not in the ministry yet. I was definitely saved and all that, but I wasn't in the ministry yet.
Yeah.
But even with that, I wasn't gonna leave my wife to be that I'm betrothed to out to be destitute on the streets just to quote unquote make my buddy at church not look at me different.
Right.
That's what I say when I say to cheat. You got to learn how to separate yourself from a dogmatic culture that's not always based on biblical principle. It is sometimes based on what we call biblical ideas. And a biblical idea versus a biblical principle is not the same. If watch this, let me say, and definitely I ain't in your business. I use me. Yo, hold up. Hey, Bird, let me get a sip, bro.
Now hold on. Now while the Reverend is taking a sip, we're gonna pause. We're gonna pause real quick, take a short little break, and we're gonna come right back because we have a Reverend, and y'all know normally I talk, but I can't even get a word in. So listen. So we gonna pause on the Reverend, take a short break, and we're gonna come right back. All right, everybody, we're back. Now, before I let the Reverend start, I had two things that I actually had to write down because I was afraid I was going to forget. We were in a sermon. But no, so my sister and her husband, they were here this weekend, and we were kind of talking about that, last night because my grandmother, I grew up, pretty much being raised by my grandmother and great grandmother. I mean, my mom was definitely in the picture, but I spent a lot of time around the older folks. Like I have everybody, you have an old soul, an old spirit, right? So I got a lot of that, thou shalt not, and I will say with my grandmother and my great grandmother, though, what I can say is what both of them kept me grounded in was spirituality and not religion. And I think that to me is the difference between the shacking up, right, versus the premarital sex. Because the shacking up is not what's in the Bible, and I think that is where we take things out of proportion. It's kind of like, okay, come to church as you are, because what's important is that you get the message. Like I need you to receive the message. And for some people, the only way they receive the message sometimes is not by the pastor, sometimes it's by other people's testimonies, or by praise and worship, right? So that's why we do that. As opposed to, you must wear a skirt. If you don't wear a skirt, it's frowned upon. Well, there's nowhere in the Bible, Old or New Testament, that says thou has to wear a skirt, right? So I think that sometimes a difference is we have our own we're judging, right? We have our own preconceived judgmental things that we've been told that probably isn't a good idea. If you know that you're a person that temptation is going to get the best of you, and you can't cohabit in the same house or the same area with somebody of the opposite sex before you get married, and then commit the sin there, of the premarital sex, then that's probably the intent, right? Is to say, okay, we're all human, and that may be a bridge too far for some people. And so that part I get, but I think just in relationships in general, I think a lot of the things people take the Bible out of context and start pouring in religion. And I think that's where, to me, I feel like that's where the waters kind of get, muddied a little bit when you talk about what's really the sin. But I do think the intent is, okay, well, we know that you guys are not going to be staying in the same house reading Bible verses to each other, but there may be, right? There may be some people that do. But what I was going to ask you though, Reverend, was if people, how do you feel about premarital counseling? Like, I know there's some reverend or some preachers, pastors that will not marry someone without at least talking to the couple and kind of seeing where they are. And I think it's beneficial either way, but have you found that, especially if they are cohabiting before, do you find that that premarital counseling is even more vital at that point, because you're not pretending to be married, but you're test driving. There you go. You're test driving your marriage. So do you think that having that premarital counseling is even more beneficial or even more fundamental when you are in that test drive phase, as opposed to people maybe who aren't, who are really kind of doing the traditional, I stay in my corner, you stay in your corner, type thing?
A couple of things real quick. Good perception too. Again, one of the things I always tell people is, what's right and wrong, we don't have to reestablish. And one of the things I think that we got to be careful with is interpretation to right and wrong. So things are just right, things are just wrong. So I agree with a lot of that. One thing I will say, I'll give you a great example. In one of my ethical classes I had, I'll never forget, the teacher brought up a situation where there was a young lady that was going to be married to a gentleman. Long story short, they were living together, but they weren't married yet. They didn't have some things in order, whatever the case was. And the professor presented to the classroom, what would be your advice, seeing as how they are, quote unquote, shacking, living together, whatever you want to call it. And a student, I'll never forget, never calling anybody out, young female raised her hand. She said, well, you know what? I'm telling you, I would tell her it was wrong. Not only would I tell her it was wrong, I would tell her she got to get up out of there. And one of the things that helped me out with learning some things was the response that he gave her. He said, well, let me ask you this. Are you going to open your doors so she got somewhere to stay? And the young lady was like, well, me and my husband ain't got but one. He said, I ain't asked you that. He said, I asked you, this woman that you about to kick out in the cold, are you going to present her with a place to stay until she can get some things in order? So again, this is what I say, far as, the relationship versus religion and all these good things. one thing is this: the Bible talks about it's the letter that killeth, but the spirit that makes alive. So you can take the letter of the law and murder anybody, but that ain't what it was used for. We supposed to take the spirit of the law. So if you want to tell somebody that, like put it this way, if I was to tell Kenny, hey, tell Edna she better get out of there, but then at the same token, I say, well, she can't stay here.
Right.
Have I not committed? Have I not committed the bigger sin?
Right.
So again, instead of us trying to, interpret the right or the wrong, let's interpret the spirit of it. There are certain situations where this, again, is practiced daily, cohabitation. What I'm saying is what Paul would tell you. Paul, when he went to Corinth, there were people that were cohabiting everywhere, but they also was practicing sex promiscuity. And he tells them, look, I wish y'all could be like me and just devote your life to it. He said, but if a man doesn't have that type of self-control, then he should marry. Wow, what are you saying? It almost would seem like Paul is taking on, quote unquote, the old approach that says, oh, you done made the baby, you got to lay with her. But that's not what he's saying. So again, I think when we deal with the cohabitation and things of such, in certain places, can it be applicable? Most certainly. But does it depend on the individual? You better believe it. And when it comes to me with doing any type of counseling, you got to meet people where they're at.
Yes.
Right.
That's what this show is about.
That's what the
meet
show is all
where
about.
They are.
Meet
I'm
folks
telling
where
you.
they at. If they at the strip club, meet them
Meet
there.
them with, there's no broad stroke, right? That you can paint, and I think that's the bigger point, because even what you're talking about with the families living together and having to prove themselves, man, let me tell you, I think that would have prevented a lot of people from a lot of bad relationships. I'm telling you.
But also what it ended up doing, you'll see in some of these genealogies, if you ever studied outside scripture, it caused problems because the relationship wasn't predicated on love. It was predicated on legalistic issues.
Right.
And guess what? We got issues like that today where people get married, or like I made a point earlier, some people choose not to get married because guess what? Financially, they would lose benefits that they have to survive. So when, it's easy for me to get on and tell you all these do's and don'ts. But again, without having to sacrifice biblical principle and doctrine, I can tell you, you better make sure you have your stuff in order before you start just telling somebody else what they would do, because Jesus calls it a hypocrite.
Right. He without sin cast the first stone, and I can't. Let me tell you something.
Well, let me say this to you too, because then you're gonna get, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. But then you will get those that say, well, we're operating without having any type of absolutes. That's not what Bird is saying either.
No.
And I know that's not what you're saying. I just want to clear that up for people.
Yeah.
What Bird is saying is kind of hard for me to see the splinter in my brother's eye, but I don't see this plank in my own eye.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And
yes, sir.
With that being said, though, now let's get down to it. Me, pastor, I am a sinner, whether you know it or not.
Aren't we all?
Hey, bro.
Aren't we all?
And that's not condoning it. But what we will say to the person that doesn't, do certain things for whatever reason, to God be the glory. But don't think just because you say, well, I don't do this, but you don't do that. Jesus says, if you don't keep all the law, then guess what? You're guilty of every one of them.
Because no one sin is greater than the other, right?
So one of the things that I want us just to be careful with is cohabitation right or wrong? Somebody tell me. I don't know. I don't see anywhere based on a biblical perspective. I think that's where I come in at, that anybody could tell me anything where you find anything that suggests that is wrong, just the cohabitation, because that's what we're talking about. Right. But here's the thing. What we got to do is make sure when we come to the table, we don't bring our own preconceived ideas of what bird or tree or my living arrangements are.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It just don't work that way. But do you know what's crazy? This is why I go back to that cheating part. If you're not careful, you will surrender yourself to that. Even the greatest of all of us surrenders ourselves to whatever the culture is doing. And the funny part about it, yes, the church has a voice, but with the church having a voice, man, keep in mind there are people in the church, and sometimes we're just wrong.
Right.
Ain't no other way of saying it.
Right.
Yo, get the pots ready, bro.
Right.
You better get a word in while he drinking.
Hey, look, but no, the thing is, I'm glad that we're doing this, not to be, super religious, but at the same time, I'm glad we're doing this. And the reason being is because, see, a lot of people, how can I say it? They feel like, oh, well, you're a church, you go to church, you're a pastor, blah, 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 blah. You don't do no wrong. But see, a lot of people forget where they come from. And that's the issue. A lot of people forget that they was raised in the church and they was taught this and taught that. And now they're sitting up here high and mighty like, hey, look, I've never done anything wrong. All that stuff that you did, what I'm saying, you're wrong. You're blah, blah, blah. Oh, you're not in church. Well, you're wrong. You're going to hell. It's not like that at all.
Nah.
It's not like that at all. And that's why a lot of people turn away from the church. Because you have a lot of people that are interested and they want to know, okay, well, I know I heard this before. I know I heard that before. I know I was taught this. I was taught that. But, a lot of people look at me funny because a lot of people look at me funny because I have dreads. A lot of people look at me funny because I have tattoos. A lot of people look at me funny because I have an earring in my ear. You know what I'm saying? Like that type of deal. But people don't realize that it's not about that. Like Bert said earlier, hey, look, come as you are. We all know that. I remember back in the day, we used to have, I think it was like first or third Sunday.
Third Sunday.
Yep,
it was third Sunday. Look at that heathen. It was third Sunday. It's always been third Sunday.
Represent.
Hey, look, and that's the thing. Like, we came and, you wear your, you wear your jeans, you wear your tennis shoes, you chilling out, it is what it is. But I think that's good, that they had that because a lot of people thinking, oh, I got to put on a suit or I got to wear, I got to get my dress, I got to get heels, whatever, to come to church. And it's not like that. Like Pastor Junior, whatever you guys, whatever, he said, it's one of those things where you got to meet people where they are at the end of the day.
You really do.
Yeah, like, and I will say now, growing up, don't get me wrong. So my great grandmother was the mother of the church, and so we were in church every day, 5 times, whatever. Anyway, but before the sun came up and after it set, we would leave church and go to somebody else's church. It was always somebody pastor appreciation. But anyway, so she had never learned to read a day in her life, but I will tell you she could read. She knew every word in the Bible from front to back. The woman was anointed, okay? And so in her mind, we always dressed up because in her philosophy was we are children of God, right? And he's the king that makes us royalty. So we should go into his house dressed as the royalty we are. And so that and that's the way she taught it to us. Not she didn't say, well, the Bible said you must. That's not what she said. She said, because we are children of God and he is the king, he is a royalty, then we are the children of royalty and we should go. Now, of course, as an adult, I have gone to churches where it's come as you are all the time, right? There's no dressing up, and I didn't receive the word any different in jeans than I did in those itchy socks, right? But I'm like, man, I think she would be rolling over in her grave if she knew I went, to church in a pair of jeans. She probably would take some issue to that. But at the same time, I think it goes back to kind of meeting people where they are, but also kind of like what you said, Rev, is not to kind of get caught up in the current culture, right? I think there's some things that we should hold, and to each their own, but I think that what we shouldn't do is that if we do see somebody coming to church with an earring or jeans or flip-flops or whatever it is, immediately judge that person or what you doing here? Why are you coming here dressed like that? The question really should be, how can we help you? Because maybe if you talk to them and understand their story, maybe that's all they had, right? But if you immediately are judging them, you've turned them away. You have like you said before, you've just committed the bigger sin because now that person has missed out on that ministry. And I think when it comes to relationships, that's where we have to be careful. And that's why the last podcast that we had, when we were talking about some of the advice that people have given you that you didn't follow and you're glad that you didn't, I think that's where we have to be careful, because I think most of us have good intentions, right? I think, I mean, there are some people who are just evil spirited and they are trying to work against you. But I think for the most part, most of us are just going off of what, our experience is. But I think we have to be careful with that because again, we're all different. And what works for me may not work for Tree, may not work for Reverend. And I think that's what we need to predicate that sort of advice on. We can give people what the book says, and we can give people, whether it's the textbook or the Bible. I mean, we can give that to people, but I think it should be predicated on. But you have, as an individual, you have to understand who you are.
Right.
And if you don't know who you are, this probably isn't the time right now for you to try to invest in somebody else, right? Because you need to invest in yourself first. If you, that would be the conversation I would have. It. So if you're not sure where you want to go and what you want to do, well, maybe you just need to, just take a time out for yourself for a minute and kind of understand that before you're trying to then bring to somebody else who may not know who they are. Because then I feel like you kind of you have a little bit of mess on hands. But I think that's what we should be predicating to people is there's no broad brush that I can, there's no instruction manual, so to speak, for everybody, for every relationship, one, A through Z for everybody. It's, it's a little bit different. And I think that's where we fail. I feel like sometimes when the intent, we have good intentions. I think that's sometimes, where we kind of fall short.
I think it's an easier way out though. So, that's what we talk. We talk, somebody come in, talk at them. But that ain't applicable. You got to reach people. And I mean, a lot of times, soon as somebody come in, man, I don't go and quote 613 laws to them. Right. You just meet them. You meet them where you meet them where you at. Believe it or not, overseas, man, I encountered a lot of guys in ministry that, man, when you went up to some of these people, I mean, got alcohol all on their breath and everything. Right now, guess what? With our culture and our quote unquote enigmas, that we can all look at it and say, "Oh man, that ain't what in the world going on." But when you go overseas, you realize alcohol is just like drinking water.
Right.
I mean, I'm just telling you, that's literally how it is. To the point that and I'm not, definitely not telling nobody whether they should drink. Man, look, again, I don't have to reestablish right or wrong. That's my biggest point in it. But what I will say is no way you can tell me that in the culture to which we live, that you can exclude this culture and then you got a Bible and you're reading culture right in front of you. You got to be able to have a bridge between the two. And the bridge between the two is the Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit will still let you get principles in everything we've been taught. And there's certain principles that may have been lawful in the Old Testament or even in the New Testament that it's not lawful right now. Hey, look, watch this. Nobody has ever took out of your check your tithe and offering. That you just get taxes taken out.
Well, FICA, I would have to say that.
You feel? I'm with you, but you know what I'm saying. But I'm saying, but can you imagine that though?
Right.
Can you imagine if it was still lawful to pay tithes and offerings?
Right.
But didn't he say what's for Caesar is for Caesar, what's for me?
Well, I mean, but what I'm saying, I'm just looking at the jurisdiction of it.
I'm with you.
I'm with you, Bird. I'm with you. But can you imagine that though, right?
Right. No.
Because guess what? You didn't even have to believe in the Roman Catholic Church. You were going to still pay tithes to it. That was just the legal system. Well, guess what? That legal system ain't in place.
Right.
Oh, so what? Do we not pay tithes? Certainly not. There's the principle there. So I even say with the cohabitation, with living together, man, listen, we got to take them principles and be able to reach people. The problem sometimes is the man or the woman of the church is not satisfied until they bring the church down to their size. People do that all the time, and you got to be careful with that. Hey, hold up, by the way, hey, yo, Tree, man, my joint fresh, bro.
Did he switch hats on me?
Hey, that dude done switch hats. You know what, man? Hey,
yo, do you see that, Bird?
This dude done switch.
Hey, hold up. Hey, Bird, you see that joint, Bird? Y'all have to, they love this joint, bro.
He done switched.
Hey, this dude done switched up hat. Hey, look. Hey, I got a question. I got a question. So look, now we done talked about the cohabitation, the shacking up. Suppose you have sex before you get married.
Okay.
Just repent. Lord, forgive me.
I
Then
ain't
you
gonna
get
lie,
married, and then it's
because my
I don't
thing
know.
is, hey, like I said,
I don't know. I'm gonna
test
send people to
driving.
hell. I'm sorry.
Hey,
I'm
like I
sorry.
said, test driving the marriage. I got to see what's
but
going on.
honestly, that's a good question because what if?
Man,
Let me tell
look.
you, what if it's not right?
Exactly.
And then now your spirit is like, I need something that's right because that's not
Exactly.
right for me.
So then I'm gonna have to really cheat.
Now I'm gonna be committing other things, more sins.
Exactly.
But
So
look, let me say it from this perspective. Let me be serious for 1 second.
All right.
So, what about the guys that, in particular, I would say, in the Gospels that would come up to Jesus, try to trick him with rhetoric, and then Jesus would say to them, "But if you have even looked at a woman with that intent, you have already committed the adultery." Wow, man! So you can't just look at the letter of the law. We got to look at the intent of it, right? So sometimes with that, guess what? We can have a gentleman that may, quote unquote, physically be a virgin, but Jesus comes on the scene and says, if you're gonna undress her and already masturbate to her, guess what?
Yeah.
You've already committed the sin.
That's true.
Well, I done sin then.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Hey, I'm gonna be honest. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, I mean, but like to Bird's point, suppose you get in that situation, and I mean, obviously there are people that
talk about me, bro.
So, no. But I'm saying it has been people that waited.
Yeah.
And I know people that have waited, and that's fine. I have honestly that's perfectly fine. That's cool. But suppose you wait, all right, the guy wait, the girl waits, and then the first night y'all get married, y'all come back to the room, y'all get that R. Kelly going. You know what I'm saying? And then you come to find out, you know what I'm saying?
Amazing Grace.
Dude don't know what he doing. She don't know what she doing.
For the rest of your life. For the rest of your life. But you can go to classes and teach each other. That you can do that. If you want to make I'm saying there are other ways. All I'm saying is for people who want to practice that and that's their want to keep that holy, right? That's the one sin they don't want to commit. Fine. They might get drunk, but they don't want to commit that sin, and that's fine.
And that's fine.
There are avenues. There are legit like classes, like they're classes. I'll just put it that way. There are classes where you can improve your technique and skill if you want to make that work. If you want to keep keep your marriage holy, right? Yeah. By not cheating, staying married, right? There are other avenues, but I hear what you say. I'm with you.
I mean, or they can just go on Pornhub and watch that together.
Wow.
Well, that's different. That's a little bit different.
But you got to admit, though. See, here's the difference, y'all. Hey, look, hey, baby, just close your ears. This long time ago. Long time ago. Don't pay this no mind. So, look, the difference, though, versus you just, being intimate with a chick, is weird. But what about when it is the right person? Right. What about, Bird, when you married your husband? It's different. Not just because I'm talking about because of the love as well.
Right.
So there are a lot of avenues involved. Like I can't speak for all mankind and have to close both ears. But a lot of times it was no feeling at all attached. Hey yo, look, hey yo, young ladies, I'm sorry, bro. I'm just keeping it a buck. You know what I mean? They got me up here. It was no feelings attached, bro. I mean, and do you know the difference for me was when I met this lady here. So that came sitting there. Now guess what? We can't just be in there. Oh God, tell me something that I like. No, bro, it got to be right. You know what I mean? I'm with you with that. Right. But at the same token, think about this though, Tree. If you have worked in Laban's house like Jacob for 7 years, man, it could really be the worst ever, but it's gonna be the best ever, bro.
Makes sense.
You understand what I'm saying, bro? I've been working for 7 years for this.
I'm gonna get that thing.
What?
And it's gonna be good.
7 years.
And she gonna be like, I waited 7 years.
Yeah, cobwebs and all.
No, sir. Hey, Tree. Look, Jacob was putting it down.
Hey, right. I hope he was.
He better have. She was not happy.
To be honest with you, though, that dude was probably so ready he ain't even making it in there. He had to get himself ready first.
Do you understand what I'm saying, though?
Listen
Makes
here.
sense.
Yeah.
But here's the thing too, though. Now, and one of the biggest things that we are not including is the influence of the United States culture when it looks at sex in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the reason why I say that, if you took that back to, man, the late 80s, sex wasn't as predominant as it is now on TV.
Right.
So again, when we look at that, guess what? Kids that's growing up today in this society, that's all they see. Whether you say the enemy or this, that, bro, that's what they brought up in.
Yeah.
So it's definitely gonna pull different on them. Again, what our parents taught, with the ideology they had, the precepts, a lot of things was in place to keep us from that.
Right.
Now, bro, like you said, you got a cell phone, it's on.
It is. Yep.
Well, I mean, I will say right, wrong, and different. Like I said last, a couple episodes ago.
Shout
I mean,
out.
my mom did tell me, she was like, hey, sex is 50% of the marriage. You know what you're getting before you get it, because that's a long time.
Very smart.
That's a long time, because no one gets married to get divorced, right? You don't.
Right.
When you get married, you're thinking, man, we're gonna be together forever. Okay, well, forever is a long time to be with one person, and it's not right. So
but can you imagine?
She did say that.
But can you imagine, again, just looking at it, the biblical aspect? This brother done worked 7 years to be with a woman he thought was Rachel, and you done gave him Leah.
Right.
Yo, bro. So let me ask you, what do you think he did when they got married that night?
Oh well.
Even though I'm adding that in, I'm not adding to take away. My point being, then he worked 7 more years and he married 2 sisters. Whoa.
Both sisters.
Okay.
Shout out the future.
Years. Yo, man, shout out to the hard work we put in. Look, this man worked 14 years. Hey, Heather, how long I been with you work? Okay, but here's my point, yo. She ain't got no sisters neither. But my point being, bro, to work all that time, it's gotta be something there more than just, you know what I'm saying? He's attracted to her, bro.
Right.
Yeah.
He's attracted to her. But I think it's hard to tell kids in this culture and even adults in the culture to which we live. Man, look, cartoons don't even look the same.
Okay.
They don't.
Hey, listen, Betty Boo done got implants, bro. You understand what I'm saying?
Listen,
I've never seen this stuff. Hey, do you remember the girl?
Anime. So sexualized.
Anime, yeah.
So again, what I'm just saying, what our kids have gotten exposed to, truth be told, it's on our watch.
Yeah.
And do you know why it's on our watch? Because some of those dogmatic principles that grandma and them had, we lightened up on. We got a little ethical instead of being moral. Now, I'm not saying everything they said was right or wrong, but what I am saying is the changing of the culture and the guard came in when we replaced morals with ethics. So,
but I think a lot of that too, because I feel like we were like, it was held over our head, right? There wasn't a balance, right? It was right or wrong, right? You if you do this, you will go to hell. There was no in between. There was no like, okay, but what if I pray every day, right? That's the purpose of praying every day, asking the Lord forgive, because you don't know what you still prayed every day, because if you didn't pray every day, you're going to hell still. So like, I think that is why we went the complete opposite, right? Because there was no balance.
And I think
there was no balance.
I think it was gonna happen again. The culture, we took what they had and ran with it. Our technology that we have, it opened the door for it.
Right.
I mean, think about it. Your grandma, we talking about generations, right? Kenny, your mom and dad ain't never podcast.
Right.
You know what I mean? You was one generation, bro, and look at that type of technology.
Right.
Whoa, man, that's crazy to her. Who would have ever thought we would be doing what we're doing right now?
Right.
But
cell phone was a stretch.
But think about this though.
Right.
The thing that is great and to be glorified is now we got a network where we can talk about this. Right. A lot of that, bro, like I said, it was beat in the head, so the relationship wasn't there.
Correct.
And when the relationship isn't there, this is the byproduct of it. So we became the bastard child, as they would say of it. And the bastard child loses morals and has no absolutes. We vote on everything and we just ethical. And guess what? Can that work? Certainly, I think so. Look at you. But you would have been married now, Ken, if it weren't a pandemic.
Facts.
All right, so tell Elton it's time to go. I mean, who does that?
We're going to the courthouse right now. No,
Hey.
we're not. No, we having a real wedding.
Listen, but the reason why you ain't going to the courthouse because your parents like, no, you not going. You start in the court, you end in the court. Let me tell you something. They be having you scared, spending all types of unnecessary money. Marriage is marriage, okay? That's a ceremony. That's again.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But we need to understand that because I don't think that people think I got to have this big extravagant wedding because if I don't have this big extravagant wedding, we're not gonna work. We're not gonna last. Do you know how many people spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in divorce today?
Right.
Bird.
I'm just saying.
Right.
And I understand the value of wanting to have the ceremony. I understand. I had a ceremony. Okay, so I understand that, but I think people get too wrapped up in again this we must because somebody said, and that doesn't make you married.
Hey, you see this bird?
I'm just saying.
Look, so my wife writes a note, right? Because she's so cool. And I actually had my dates wrong, which is rarely ever that happens. And so she was like, you know goodness well, you forgot that you were licensed January 2011. We got married at the end of the year. She says you was already in the ministry hitting it. Whoa. Praise the Lord. Hey, praise the Lord.
Okay, let the saints say amen. Okay.
Ooh, oh, wait. Hey, that makes sense.
Yo, that's funny, man. Hey, look, Tree, check me out real quick, Tree.
Did you put your hat again? I cannot deal.
Yo, Bird. Hey, shout out to Mr. Bird. I seen him in the background
He
holding
did.
it down.
He was.
Shout out to bro Bird. Bird.
He did. He was making a guest appearance in there, trying to get in the podcast.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
Well, this has been a good talk, and I do hope that a lot of people get, the point is, do what's right for you, right?
Exactly.
And then and then you're gonna have to just pray about the rest. That's honestly the best advice I can give anybody. Pray about it. Pray about it. That's it.
At the end of the day, I mean, God knows your heart.
Okay.
And that's how I look at it. That's how my parents have always told me. You know what you're doing. You grown. It's between you and God. So, yeah. and that's just how it is. So I mean, don't. Just because I lived with my fiance before we became fiancés and about to get married, engaged, and all that.
You going to hell because I didn't. That's okay.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, hey, and that's what people will say. People, I guarantee you, and Junior, which is the Reverend, I call him Junior, but Junior know for a fact.
JR, bro.
People talk, and I guarantee you they done said stuff already, like Kenny living up there and Garner, he got a fiance.
And he getting ready to change the hat. I knew it. I knew it.
And he ain't married, this and that, blah 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 blah. He going to hell. What does his parents and stuff think about it? Man, look, to all y'all, my parents. I didn't talk to my parents.
It don't really matter.
Hey man,
it doesn't really matter.
What's up?
Cuss up here.
I mean, you can cuss.
Go ahead, Trey, I
thought you wanted to cuss you. I was saying you
sorry, bro. I don't know. I'm sorry.
I'm about to say, my man, hey, you want to cuss? Go ahead,
Bird.
Hey, man.
Look, for no reason, Bird. Hey, but look, let me share something, man. And y'all do what it make you do. Because look, my wife been sitting here, right? Hey, Bird, check this out. And I guess all this reminiscing has got her feeling, her mind telling her no, but her body, you know how that go.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But look,
okay, Arkell.
Shout out to the pot. You know how we keep it cooking. But look, let me say this again. We don't want to allow the enemy to even steal from this, right? Mm-hmm. And the reason I say that is this. Nobody has presented a new norm, a new ethical relativism. My point in everything I say is this. Right and wrong has already been established. The expectations of it has been established. What I was trying to present and some of the great things that you guys brought out was this. Be direct. Mm-hmm. If we're going to talk about this, let's talk about cohabitation. Mm-hmm. But don't just insinuate that cohabitation is ultimately you know, burning desire and lust. This is why we're doing it. What I'm trying to tell you, that just is not applicable. Now, that is exactly what I did, but that is not. Hey, Heather, you like that joint, don't you? Hey, look, as soon as we get off, yo, I'm gonna.
Hey,
I'm still up here. Look, hey, shout out to me, baby. Let's go.
My man about to go get them cheeks. Makes
Bird.
sense.
Hey, Bird. Hey, you feeling that joint, yo? Bird. Hey, but look, I am so proud of you guys, man. If you can endure an interview with me, you guys got something special.
Thank
Y'all
you.
got something special. Hey, ho. Hey, Bird, before you go, ho. I forgot. Here we go, Bird. Get ready.
This dude.
Deal.
This dude that's in here switch hats
Deal with
the
these
entire
ad changes.
episode.
Hey, y'all shout out to the freshest preacher on the podcast. Look, I'm in the building with these people, man. Look, if you bird tree, I'm the squirrel with the bird and tree. How about
Lord, he done included himself.
Hey, Tree,
Listen, go ahead and get up. Go ahead and get up and be the squirrel. Get up in the tree. Get up in the tree and be the squirrel. Come on.
Hey, look, I don't want to do it this way, but don't you edit this out. Since you bird, since you the tree, hey Kenny, I'm squirrel, and you know what squirrels like to do. I'm about to go get this nut. My man.
Lord, have mercy. Pray for him, Jesus.
Hey, look, this is episode 5. Test driving
in the Tree podcast.
Right.
Test driving your relationship.
Test driving your relationship.
Let's go.
Hey, hold on. Before we go. I got a word for y'all real quick. No, matter of fact, I ain't got a word for y'all. Hey, man, I'm going to let my boy do it. Hey,
no,
man,
he going to take 10 minutes. We got
No. Give my boy,
bro.
Bro, get him something special. Just leave him with something just nice and short and sweet. Give him something, man, real
30
quick.
30 seconds.
Here you go.
Yo, can I get 10 seconds?
Let's go, man.
30
Yo,
seconds.
Bird, is you ready?
No.
Yo, Tree, is you ready?
I'm ready, bro. Let's get it.
Yo, in honor of the late, great Bernie Mac.
Uh-huh.
If people don't like you for who you are,
what's up? F them.
And that is all.
From the himself. Let's get it. Y'all take care. We'll see y'all next time. Peace.
Love.